The massive screen in Earth Defense Force headquarters turned dark for the third time that day. Commander Jack Stone slammed his fist against the control panel, his weathered face reflecting the dim emergency lights. 50 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this moment. No one had been prepared. The alien ships had appeared 7 days ago, their massive forms blocking out the sun over major cities worldwide. They called themselves the Collectors, and they hadn't come to make friends. "Sir," a young officer called out from his station, "we've lost contact with the Asian Defense Fleet." The officer's voice cracked as he delivered the news. It was the 4th Fleet they'd lost today. Jack closed his eyes, remembering the confident speeches he'd given just last week about Earth's readiness for any threat. Their most advanced fighters, armed with the latest missiles and energy weapons, had proven as effective as throwing rocks at a battleship. Through the command center's reinforced windows, he watched as another collector vessel descended through the clouds. These ships weren't even their primary warships. They were resource collectors, harvesting vessels. Earth's entire military force was being decimated by what amounted to alien mining equipment. "Commander Stone," Dr. Emma Walker's voice came through his earpiece. She was broadcasting from the underground research facility beneath Mount Hood. "You need to see this. The scans we're getting from their ships, there's something odd about their technology." "Doctor, with all due respect, we're a bit busy getting our asses handed to us right now," Jack replied, watching as another missile barrage bounced harmlessly off the alien shields. "That's just it, Commander. Their tech, it's not as advanced as we initially thought. It's just different. Very different. We're looking at it all wrong." A deafening explosion rocked the building. The massive windows cracked but held. Outside, the last squadron of F-35s fell from the sky like dead flies. Jack had known those pilots since they were fresh out of the academy. "All forces, fall back to secondary positions," he ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Initiate Protocol Omega. Get our people underground." The collectors had been methodical in their approach. They disabled global communications first, then took out military installations with surgical precision. Now they were moving on to resource extraction. Humanity's greatest cities were being stripped for materials, their populations fleeing into hastily constructed underground shelters. What bothered Jack most was their attitude. The collectors hadn't even bothered to communicate beyond their initial message. "Your resources are now under our management. Resistance will be met with appropriate force." They viewed Earth as nothing more than an unexploited mining site, and humans as primitive natives who needed to be swept aside. 3 hours later, Jack stood in Dr. Walker's underground lab, staring at the holographic displays. The facility had been built for exactly this kind of scenario, a full invasion, but no one had really believed it would happen. The doctor's team had been analyzing the alien technology nonstop since first contact. "Look at this." Emma pointed to a diagram of one of the collector ships. Her gray hair was pulled back in a messy bun, dark circles under her eyes suggesting she hadn't slept in days. "Their tech isn't just advanced. It's wasteful, inefficient, like they never had to worry about resource constraints." Jack watched as she pulled up more detailed scans. They're using massive amounts of energy for simple tasks. Their ship's systems are redundant to the point of absurdity. It's like they solved every problem by throwing more power at it. "How does this help us?" Jack asked, his patience wearing thin. Above them, they could hear the distant rumble of another city being stripped for resources. "Because," Emma's eyes lit up with a familiar spark, the same look she'd had when she developed Earth's first functional plasma drive. "They left us gifts." She led him to another section of the lab. Through a massive window, he could see a hangar filled with debris, pieces of collector ships that had been damaged in the fighting and discarded. "They don't even bother recovering their damaged equipment," Emma explained. "To them, it's junk. Primitive. Outdated. But to us," she paused, letting the implications sink in. Jack began to understand. It's still centuries ahead of our technology. Exactly. And here's the beautiful part. They're so convinced of their superiority, they didn't even bother to destroy it. They just left it lying around, like littering on a primitive planet. For the first time in days, Jack felt a glimmer of hope. But he was a military man, trained to see the practical challenges. How long would it take to understand their technology? To make it useful? Emma's expression turned serious. Years, maybe decades, but we have something they don't. And what's that? Necessity, she said simply. They've never had to innovate under pressure. Never had to make do with limited resources. Never had to adapt or die. But us humans. She smiled grimly. That's what we do best. Jack looked at the alien debris again, seeing it with new eyes. Each piece wasn't just junk. It was a puzzle piece, a key to humanity's survival. He thought about the collectors above, so casual in their dominance, so certain of their superiority. How many other facilities like this one are still operational? He asked. Emma pulled up a global map. Dozens of dots glowed across every continent, hidden bunkers and underground research stations, all connected through hardened communication lines the collectors hadn't detected. Enough, she replied. And they're all seeing what we're seeing. Teams across the world are already starting to study different aspects of their technology. The collectors think they've conquered us, that we'll just hide in our holes and wait to die. Jack nodded slowly, a plan forming in his mind. So we let them think that. We play the primitive species, too broken to fight back. And meanwhile, Emma finished, we learn, we adapt. We take their cast-offs and cast-asides, and we make them our own. They think they're watching us die, but they're really watching us evolve. Above them, the collectors continued their methodical harvest of Earth's resources, unaware that their greatest mistake wasn't in underestimating humanity's current capabilities, but in underestimating their potential. In their arrogance, they had given humanity exactly what it needed: a chance. Jack looked at the alien debris one more time, then turned to Emma. How soon can we start? She was already walking toward the hangar, tablet in hand. We already have. Welcome to Project Phoenix, Commander. Let's show these collectors what humans can do with a little junk and a lot of motivation. The first day of Earth's greatest challenge was ending, but in underground facilities across the world, the seeds of humanity's comeback were already taking root. The collectors thought they were writing humanity's ending. They didn't realize they were only writing the first chapter. 5 years passed in the underground. 5 years of studying, failing, learning, and trying again. The surface of Earth had become alien territory, but beneath the ground, humanity was far from defeated. Emma Walker stood in her expanded laboratory, now 10 times the size of the original, watching as teams of engineers worked on various pieces of alien technology. The air hummed with the sound of reverse-engineered power systems. What had once been alien junk now powered their underground cities. Dr. Walker, Tom Reed, one of her youngest engineers, rushed into the lab. His face was flushed with excitement. The power coupling worked. It actually worked. Emma followed him to the testing chamber. Inside, a hybrid engine sat on the testing platform. Part human technology, part salvaged alien tech. But the way they'd combined them was entirely new. The collectors' power systems were always inefficient, Emma explained to the gathered team. They used brute force because they could. But we've learned to do more with less. The engine hummed to life, its energy readings steady and strong. Where the collector's system would have needed a room full of power cells, their hybrid version worked with just 2. It was smaller, more efficient, and most importantly, it worked. Jack Stone entered the testing chamber, his hair grayer now but his stance still military straight. Tell me some good news, Doc. The Council's asking for updates. The Council, a unified group of military and civilian leaders from around the world, had formed in the first year after the invasion. They called it the Phoenix Protocol, a complete rebuilding of human civilization, but this time hidden from the collector's eyes. Emma smiled. "Show him, Tom." Tom activated the engine's full power. The energy output readings shot up, but the system remained stable. "Sir, we're getting more power than the original alien design, using less than half the resources." Jack whistled low. "They won't be expecting that." "That's not all," Emma added. She pulled up a holographic display showing the surface. "The collectors are still up there, still harvesting. But they're getting sloppy, overconfident. They leave more and more salvageable tech behind." The collectors' arrogance had become humanity's greatest asset. Every piece of junk they discarded was carefully collected by hidden teams and brought to facilities like this one. Each fragment was a piece of the puzzle, a step toward humanity's return. "We're not just copying their technology anymore," Emma continued. "We're improving it, making it our own. The hybrid systems we're developing, they're better than anything the collectors have." Jack walked around the engine, examining it closely. "How soon until we can scale this up? Start building ships." "We already have." Emma led them through a series of security doors to a massive underground cavern. Inside, illuminated by powerful lights, stood the frame of a spacecraft. It was smaller than the collector's ships, but its design was sleek, efficient. Human ingenuity merged with alien technology. "We're calling it Phoenix 1, Emma said proudly. "It's nearly ready for its first test flight. We've built it using everything we've learned. And the best part, it's completely undetectable to their scanning systems." The ship's hull was covered in panels reverse-engineered from the collector's own stealth technology. But where they used it as a backup system, humanity had made it central to their design. Every system was built around the concept of staying hidden, of appearing weaker than they were. "The other facilities?" Jack asked. "All reporting similar progress. Moscow has cracked their shield technology. Sydney's got weapon systems that are twice as effective with half the power drain. Berlin's work on navigation systems is years ahead of schedule." The global network of underground facilities had grown into a web of innovation. Each breakthrough was shared, each failure learned from. Humanity had been forced underground, but like seeds in winter, they had only grown stronger. "There's something else," Emma said, leading them to her private lab. "Something we discovered by accident." She pulled up data from their latest tests. The collector's technology, it's not just inefficient, it's inflexible. They build everything to spec and never deviate. But we found ways to adapt it, combine it, use it in ways they never imagined. She showed them test results from their hybrid systems. Their power cores can be modified to work with our systems in ways they never intended. Their shield technology can be reversed to create weapons. Every piece of tech they've discarded, we've found new ways to use. Jack studied the data. After 5 years, he'd learned enough to understand the implications. They won't be able to counter what they've never imagined. Exactly. Emma's eyes shone with pride. They think they're watching a primitive species slowly die out. They have no idea we're evolving beyond their understanding. Through another window, they could see teams of workers assembling more hybrid engines. The underground facility had become a hive of activity, a hidden factory building humanity's future. "The Council needs to know about this," Jack said. "How long until Phoenix 1 is ready for its first flight?" 2 weeks, Emma replied. "We'll need to test it at night, when their patrols are lighter. The stealth systems should keep us hidden, but we only get one chance to surprise them," Jack finished. He understood the stakes. The moment they revealed their progress, they'd lose the advantage of being underestimated. Emma nodded. "We're not ready for a full confrontation yet, but this," she gestured to the ship, "this is proof that we can do more than just survive. We can win." The next 2 weeks were a blur of final preparations. Teams worked around the clock, checking and rechecking every system. The Phoenix One had to be perfect. It would carry not just its crew, but the hopes of every human on Earth. On the night of the test flight, Emma stood with Jack in the control room. Above them, through layers of rock and soil, the collector's ships continued their patrols, unaware that their supposed victims were about to take their first step toward revolution. Launch sequence initiated, Tom announced from his station. The underground launch bay doors opened silently, revealing a carefully hidden exit to the surface. "Remember," Emma said to the pilot through the comm system, "full stealth protocols. No risks. We just need to prove it works." The Phoenix One rose silently from its berth. Its hybrid engines, built from the collector's cast-offs and human innovation, hummed with power. As it ascended toward the surface, every person in the control room held their breath. This was more than just a test flight. It was humanity's first real step toward reclaiming their world. And thanks to the collector's own cast-off technology, they had a fighting chance. The ship broke through to the surface, invisible to the alien patrols above. Humanity's comeback had begun, and their greatest advantage was that their enemies didn't even know it. The underground hangar buzzed with activity as the newly completed fleet of stealth ships stood ready. 8 years had passed since the collectors first arrived, and humanity had used every moment wisely. Commander Jack Stone walked between the rows of ships, each one a testament to human determination. "Fleet status report," he called out to the control room above. The massive underground chamber had once been a natural cave system. Now it housed humanity's secret weapon. "All 30 ships report ready, Commander," the controller responded. "Adaptation drives are running at peak efficiency." The adaptation drive, that had been Emma's breakthrough. Not just copying alien technology, but fundamentally changing how it worked. The collector's cast-off power cores had been transformed into something entirely new. Speaking of which, a familiar voice called from behind him. Emma walked up, her tablet displaying the latest test results. "The new modifications are exceeding expectations. The drive doesn't just power the ships anymore. It learns." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Learns? Watch this." Emma pulled up a holographic display showing 2 ships in a simulation. The drive adapts to different situations. The more we use it, the more efficient it becomes. It's like the ship evolves during flight. Above them, through hundreds of meters of rock, the collectors continued their methodical harvesting of Earth's resources. They still hadn't noticed that their abandoned technology had been transformed into something beyond their understanding. "Any sign they suspect?" Jack asked, checking the surface monitors. Emma shook her head. "Their patrols haven't changed in years. They still think we're just scattered survivors hiding in holes. Their arrogance is our best camouflage." The truth was far different. Under every major city ruin, humans had built vast networks of tunnels and facilities. The Phoenix Protocol had transformed humanity from refugees into a hidden army. "Launch Bay 3 reports ready," the controller announced. "Night patrol training can begin on schedule." Jack watched as one of the ships powered up. Its hull was covered in panels that bent light around it, another innovation born from studying collector technology. They'd taken the aliens' basic stealth systems and refined them until they were nearly perfect. "Remember the first test flight?" Emma asked, smiling at the memory. "We were all so nervous. Now we've got pilots running training missions right under their noses." Jack allowed himself a small smile. "How many ships are we up to globally?" 217, Emma replied. "All equipped with adaptation drives. Moscow just finished their latest squadron, and Beijing's underground shipyards are working double shifts." Through another set of blast doors, they could see the weapons testing area. The collector's energy weapons had been powerful but wasteful. Humans had redesigned them, making them smaller, more efficient, and far more precise. Latest combat simulations are promising, Emma continued, showing him the data. Our pilots are learning to use the ships in ways the collectors never imagined. The adaptation drive lets them pull maneuvers that should be impossible. A group of pilots walked past, heading for the simulator rooms. They trained constantly, preparing for the day when hiding would no longer be necessary. Each pilot was chosen for their ability to think creatively, to use the hybrid technology in unexpected ways. The Council wants an update on Project Mirror, Jack said, referring to their latest innovation. Emma's eyes lit up. Come see for yourself. They took a transport tube to another section of the facility. The tube system connected all the major underground installations, allowing quick movement without risking surface detection. As they traveled, they passed workshops where engineers worked on salvaged collector technology, living quarters built into the rock, and farms using modified alien lighting systems to grow food underground. Project Mirror's lab was their most secure facility. Inside, teams of scientists worked on what looked like pieces of broken mirror, but were actually fragments of collector sensor arrays. We've cracked their scanning technology, Emma explained. But instead of just copying it, we've reversed it. These panels don't just hide us from their scans. They can feed false readings back to their ships. Jack picked up one of the smaller panels, so we can make them see what we want them to see. Exactly. We can make an empty piece of space look full, or a fleet of ships look like space debris. Every piece of tech they carelessly discarded has become a tool for us to use against them. A test was underway in the chamber next door. A small drone equipped with mirror panels flew through a series of sensor arrays. On the monitoring screens, the drone appeared as nothing more than a small rock. The best part, Emma added, the system gets more convincing with use. The more they scan us, the better we get at fooling their sensors. The adaptation drive taught us that their technology can be pushed far beyond their imagination. They returned to the main hangar just as the night patrol was launching. 6 ships rose silently through the hidden exits, their hulls invisible to both eyes and sensors. They would fly regular patrols, testing equipment and training pilots while the collectors remained oblivious. 8 years, Jack mused, watching the ships depart. 8 years of hiding, learning, and building. How much longer do you think we need? Emma considered the question. The ships are ready. The weapons work. The stealth systems are better than we ever hoped. But we need to be sure. We only get one chance to surprise them. In another part of the facility, they checked on the training programs. Young pilots worked in simulators, learning to handle the hybrid ships. Engineers studied captured collector technology, looking for new ways to improve their designs. Every person had a role in humanity's silent revolution. The collectors still send scouts occasionally, Jack noted, checking the surface monitors, looking for signs of resistance, and finding nothing but ruins and scattered survivors. Emma added, meanwhile, we're building something they can't even imagine, a force that uses their own technology better than they do. A message came through from the Beijing facility. They'd completed work on their latest innovation, a way to use the adaptation drive to boost shield strength beyond anything the collectors had achieved. Every facility shared their breakthroughs, each innovation making humanity stronger. Surface teams report increased collector activity in Sector 7, the controller announced. They're stripping another city. Jack and Emma watched the feeds. The massive alien ships descended from the clouds, their harvest beams cutting through abandoned buildings. They were so focused on gathering resources, they never thought to look below the ruins. Let them take what they want from the surface, Emma said quietly. Everything that matters is down here. And when we're ready, Jack finished, they'll learn what humanity can do with a little time and motivation. The night patrol returned, ships sliding silently back into their berths. Another successful mission, another step closer to their goal. In facilities around the world, Humanity's hidden fleet grew stronger, smarter, more capable. The collectors thought they were watching a defeated species slowly fade away. Instead, they were watching the greatest comeback in human history, built from their own discarded scraps. And they wouldn't realize their mistake until it was too late. The warning came at dawn. Surface sensors detected multiple collector ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Not just harvesting vessels this time, warships. The largest fleet humanity had seen since the first invasion, 13 years ago. Jack Stone stood in the Global Command Center, watching as red dots appeared on the massive display screen. Each dot represented a collector vessel entering Earth's orbit. Around him, controllers maintained absolute calm. They had trained for this day. Counting 75 ships, the sensor officer reported, much larger than their usual harvest fleet. Emma rushed into the command center, her tablet displaying real-time analysis of the incoming vessels. They'd brought their newest ships, better armor, stronger weapons. They must have noticed some of their technology going missing. Or they're just being thorough, Jack replied. He pressed a button on his command console, activating the global alert system. In underground facilities around the world, humanity's hidden fleet prepared for battle. The collector ships moved into formation above Earth's major cities, or what remained of them. Their previous harvesting missions had left most surface structures in ruins. A transmission broadcast on all frequencies, the first direct communication from the collectors in over a decade. Primitive species, the message began, their tone as arrogant as ever. Our sensors detect attempts to salvage and utilize our discarded technology. This is unacceptable. Your resistance will be eliminated. Emma couldn't help but smile. They still think we're just scavenging their leftovers. They have no idea what we've built. All facilities report ready, the communications officer announced. Fleet commanders await your orders, sir. Jack took a deep breath. 13 years of preparation had led to this moment. Initiate Operation Rising Phoenix. All ships, launch on my mark. Around the world, hidden bay doors opened in the ruins of old cities. Beneath abandoned buildings and inside mountain caves, humanity's secret weapon waited. 300 ships, each one a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and transformed collector technology. Remember, Jack broadcast to all pilots, they don't know what we can do. Use that surprise. Fight smart, not just hard. Emma monitored the adaptation drive readings across the fleet. All drives showing green. Mirror systems active and synchronized. They still can't see us. Jack gave the order. Launch. Across the globe, human ships rose from their hidden bases. The adaptation drives hummed silently, making them invisible to both eyes and sensors. They took position around the collector fleet, who continued their threatening broadcast, completely unaware they were now surrounded. All ships in position. The tactical officer reported, waiting for your command. Jack looked at Emma, who nodded. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future. Disable mirror systems. Let them see what they're really facing. 300 ships suddenly appeared around the collector fleet, their hybrid weapons charged and ready. The alien broadcast cut off mid-sentence. For several seconds, there was complete silence. They're scanning us, Emma reported, watching the data flow across her screen. Their sensors can't make sense of what they're seeing. The adaptation drives don't match anything in their database. The collectors recovered quickly, their ships moving to attack formation. Their first volley of energy weapons launched at the human fleet and passed harmlessly through the spaces where the ships had been. The human pilots put their years of training to use. The adaptation drives let their ships move in ways the collectors had never seen, avoiding attacks while launching their own. Weapons that the collectors had considered primitive now pierced their strongest shields, guided by targeting systems that learned and adapted mid-battle. Their flagship is trying to coordinate their fleet, Emma called out. But our ships are moving too unpredictably. They can't establish a firing pattern. Jack watched as humanity's fleet executed maneuvers that should have been impossible. Ships spiraled through enemy fire, their adaptation drives learning and improving with each evasion. The hybrid weapons, built from salvaged collector technology, but refined and improved, struck with devastating accuracy. Multiple collector ships disabled, the tactical officer reported. They're falling back to secondary positions. The collectors tried to regroup, to adapt to humanity's tactics. But that was humanity's greatest strength now: adaptation. Each time the collectors thought they had figured out how to counter the human ships, the adaptation drives would shift, change, evolve into something new. "Their shields are failing," Emma announced. "They never imagined their own technology could be used like this. Every time they scan us, every time they try to predict our movements, the drives learn more about how to counter them." A desperate transmission came from the collector flagship. "What are you?" "These systems. This is not possible." Jack opened a channel to respond. "We're humanity. You left us for dead, surrounded by what you thought was junk. Big mistake." The battle continued above Earth's scarred surface. Collector ships, for all their size and power, found themselves unable to cope with the smaller, more agile human vessels. Their energy weapons, designed for raw power, were outmaneuvered by humanity's precise, efficient hybrid systems. "Their fleet is breaking apart," the tactical officer reported. 40% of their ships disabled or destroyed. The rest are falling back. Emma's screen showed the effectiveness of their reverse-engineered technology. "The adaptation drives are performing beyond our highest expectations. Each ship is fighting better than the last, learning from every engagement." The collector fleet retreated in chaos, their formation shattered. Ships that had arrived in perfect order now fled in disarray, their commanders unable to comprehend how their supposedly primitive opponents had achieved such mastery over their own technology. "Should we pursue?" the tactical officer asked. Jack shook his head. "Let them go. Let them tell others what happened here. Humanity isn't helpless anymore." As the collector ships disappeared into faster-than-light travel, cheers erupted in command centers around the world. 13 years of hiding, learning, and preparing had paid off. Humanity had not just survived, they had evolved. "Damage report," Jack called out, bringing focus back to the moment. "Minimal losses," came the response. 6 ships damaged, no complete losses. The adaptation drives protected us better than we expected." Emma was already analyzing the battle data. The drives learned more in this one engagement than in all our years of testing. "Next time, we'll be even stronger." Jack looked at the display screen, now showing only the triumphant human fleet in orbit around their home planet. "Send word to all surface teams. Begin Phase 2 of the Rising Phoenix Protocol. It's time to rebuild what's above ground, not just what's below." The human ships took up defensive positions around Earth, their adaptation drives humming with newly gained knowledge. The collectors had retreated, but everyone knew this was just the beginning. They would return, probably with a larger fleet. But next time, humanity would be ready, not just with ships and weapons, but with technology that evolved and adapted, growing stronger with each challenge. The collectors had given humanity their scraps, thinking them worthless. Instead, they had given humanity exactly what it needed to surpass them. 6 months after humanity's victory over the collector fleet, Earth had changed dramatically. The ruins of old cities were being cleared away, making room for new structures that combined human architecture with advanced technology. Commander Jack Stone stood at the window of the newly constructed Earth Defense Headquarters, watching workers guide construction drones through the air. "Another ship detected entering the system," reported the young officer at the scanning station. But there was no alarm in his voice. The adaptation drive systems now gave them plenty of warning about any approaching vessels. "Diplomatic registry," Emma added, walking onto the command deck. "Third one this week." She couldn't hide her smile. After their victory over the Collectors, word had spread quickly through the galaxy. Earth was no longer seen as a primitive backwater, but as something entirely new. The alien ship that descended through the atmosphere wasn't a collector vessel. It was sleeker, more elegant, belonging to a species that called themselves the Merchants. They had come seeking trade. Specifically, they wanted to learn about humanity's innovations. They're requesting landing clearance at the new spaceport, the communications officer announced. Standard diplomatic protocols. Jack nodded. Grant them clearance and notify the council. They'll want to be present for this meeting. The spaceport, built from the ground up in just 6 months, was a testament to how far humanity had come. It incorporated everything they had learned about alien technology, but with distinctly human improvements. The adaptation drive principles had been applied to everything from the landing systems to the traffic control towers. Hard to believe it's only been 6 months, Emma said as they walked to the meeting room. The Collector's defeat changed everything. She was right. The retreating Collector fleet had spread word of their defeat across their trade networks. The story of how a primitive species had taken their discarded technology and transformed it into something superior had caught the attention of every spacefaring race in the region. The council chamber was already filled when they arrived. Representatives from every major Earth nation sat around the circular table, ready to meet their latest visitors. On the walls, screens showed the ongoing reconstruction efforts around the planet. The Merchants are particularly interested in the adaptation drive, Emma briefed the council. They've never seen anything like it. None of them have. The whole concept of technology that learns and evolves, it's completely new to them. The alien delegation entered the chamber, their tall, elegant forms moving gracefully. Unlike the Collectors, they showed no arrogance, no sense of superiority. They had come to learn, to trade, to understand how humanity had achieved something unprecedented. Honored humans, the lead merchant began, speaking through a translation device. We have traveled far to meet those who have changed our understanding of what is possible. The galaxy speaks of your achievement, not just in defeating the Collectors, but in transforming their cast-off technology into something new. Jack stepped forward. We're happy to discuss trade agreements, but first, we need assurances about the Collectors. Our sensors show they're gathering a larger fleet. The Merchant's expression shifted to what might have been a smile. The Collectors will not trouble you again. Their defeat here has broken their power. Other races, long dominated by their technological superiority, are beginning to resist. Your example has sparked change across the galaxy. Emma presented the latest data from their global reconstruction efforts. Cities were rising from the ruins, stronger and more advanced than before. The underground facilities, once humanity's only safe haven, were being transformed into research and development centers. We're particularly interested in your adaptation drive technology, one of the Merchant scientists said. Our own ships use principles similar to the Collectors, powerful but static. The idea of systems that learn and evolve, it changes everything. That's what humans do, Emma replied. We adapt, we learn, we improve. When the Collectors left their damaged ships behind, they thought they were leaving useless scrap. Instead, they gave us the tools to surpass them. The meeting continued. Trade terms were discussed, and agreements were reached. But more importantly, connections were made. The Merchants were just the beginning. Other races would come, eager to learn from the species that had transformed primitive technology into something revolutionary. In orbit above Earth, the defense fleet maintained its watch. Each ship's adaptation drive had grown more sophisticated since the battle, learning from every moment of operation. They were no longer just vessels. They were evolving examples of humanity's new approach to technology. Global Construction Report. An aide announced, handing Jack a tablet. The numbers were impressive. New cities rising on every continent. Schools teaching both Earth and alien sciences. shipyards producing vessels that combined the best of human innovation with transformed alien tech. The underground bunkers in Sector 7 have been completely converted, Emma noted, reviewing the data. They're teaching the new generation of engineers there, kids who grew up during the occupation, now learning how to build things we could only dream of 13 years ago. An alert sounded. Another ship approaching. But this one was different. The sensors recognized it immediately. A collector vessel, alone, broadcasting peace signals. They're requesting permission to land. The communications officer reported. One passenger. A diplomatic representative. Jack and Emma shared a look. This was new. The collectors had never sent diplomats before. They had never seen the need to negotiate with primitives. Permission granted, Jack said. Full security protocols. The collector ship was larger than the merchant vessel, but it moved with less grace, less efficiency. Looking at it now, they could see all the flaws in its design, all the ways it wasted power and resources. It was a reminder of how far humanity had come. The collector diplomat was tall, heavily built, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. In the meeting chamber, it spoke with none of its species' former arrogance. We have come to formalize peace, it stated, and to learn. Our defeat here has shown us that our approach to technology, to progress, was flawed. We believed that power alone was enough. You have proven otherwise. Emma couldn't help but think of those first days after the invasion, studying the collector's discarded technology in the underground lab. Sometimes the best teachers are those who don't mean to teach at all. The rebuilding continued. Earth's cities grew toward the sky again, but different now. Smarter, more adaptable, ready to evolve with new challenges. The fleet expanded, each ship incorporating new improvements, new ideas, new ways of thinking about what technology could be. Other races came to Earth, not as conquerors or skeptics, but as equals eager to learn. Humanity had done more than survive an invasion. They had changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. You know what the best part is? Emma said to Jack as they watched another diplomatic ship land at the spaceport. We're just getting started. Every day we learn something new, adapt something further, push the boundaries a little more. Jack nodded, remembering those dark days 13 years ago, when survival seemed like an impossible dream. From junk to Juggernaut, he mused. Not bad for a bunch of primitives. Above them, Earth's defense fleet maintained its vigilant watch, their adaptation drives humming with possibilities yet unexplored. Humanity had taken its first steps into a larger galaxy, not as followers or imitators, but as innovators who had proven that the greatest strength wasn't in power, but in the ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow.